Welcome back to Investment 360. With 90 hotels and 14 gambling venues in South Africa, Tsogo Sun is one of the country's dominant leisure and gambling groups. But with the surplus capacity induced by the World Cup, investors are keen to know how the group intends to drive occupancy rates and improve net gambling wins. CEO Marcel van Ollik is still with us, and so is Piet Viljoen, because RCM, or RCM rather, is investors in Tsogo Sun. But first off, let's start with you, Marcel. We were looking at your earnings from the latest full year report, and I mean, gambling and gaming stands out as the key contributor to the group. I mean, 3.1 billion EBITDA contribution there relative to hotels, which is just below $1 billion. So take us through how the gambling industry in South Africa, or your gambling assets, are faring right now. So,
I mean, we're in casinos as opposed to general gambling. There are other forms of gambling around in the market. The casinos are strong. You know, they have a very defensive nature. The key target markets of casino are your middle and upper income earners, and particularly at the top end, or we call our sort of platinum category, your top end gamer. These are wealthy people, so their gaming spend is a very small proportion of their entertainment spend. And they are not going to be affected by the economic cycle. And we've seen that market be particularly resilient all the way through the recession. And that market makes up about 45% of our win. And it's about 35,000 people that give us 2.8 billion a year. So it's a relatively small portion of the pool that comes to our destinations. The next market down, which is what we call the mass market gaming, is still right at the top end of your LSM scale. So they're not the beneficiaries of social grants or unsecured lending, etc. It's your classic middle market or middle class South Africa are more affected by the economy. And there is pressure, and the growth has slowed, but it's still pretty resilient because it's, again, not a great portion of their entertainment spend that goes into it. It's relatively cheap entertainment for a tacky sort of word to it. We've also got a well-regulated and well-designed industry. So the casinos were put into specific markets, and each casino has largely its own captive market. And they are, by and large, the new generation casinos, or those that came in post the 94 new dispensation, are generally in your more upmarket areas. So it's been a pretty resilient market to date. Hotels obviously took a much bigger dip during the crisis. It was twofold. There was the well-known, well-spoken about oversupply as a result of World Cup. But there was another factor in that 2008 demand just dropped off the cliff completely. And that was exacerbated by oversupply, but was more of a problem than oversupply actually was. And what we've seen to date is that demand has actually recovered to more or less the same levels as what it was pre the crisis. So we're selling as many rooms as we used to. The industries are so much bigger. So now you're into the mopping up the oversupply area. But occupancies generally have recovered about 10 percentage points since the lows in the industry, and we've covered about the same. So.
You've also you've taken the opportunity, Marcel, to really reinvest in the business. I'll just take through a couple of things that are happening there. First of all, you bought the rest of I think the hotel Formula One chain that you didn't own last year. You've also announced African expansion of $100 million, which I think we'll talk about in a little more detail. But you're also your crown jewel is obviously Monte Casino, and you're speaking off air about some of the concepts that you want to take, that you've learned have been very good at Monte Casino, and kind of put those into some of the local casinos and gaming destinations you have. So just take us through what you want to do there.
If we take Monte Casino, we think is the most successful casino complex and entertainment complex in the country. It's completed about 4 phases of development so far. It's going into its 5th phase. As a destination, it started with 250 hotel rooms. It's now in 650 hotel rooms. We've doubled the parking, we've doubled the restaurants, we've added theatres, etc. And it becomes the entertainment hub for the northern suburbs. Our competitors in that market are Sandton City, Melrose Arch, Four Ways Mall, etc. Anywhere else where you would spend your leisure time and money. The other casinos are too far away, so we don't attract punters from the others. That model of regular repeat visit entertainment, where it is just the default destination that you go to if you live in that area, is what we want to roll out at the other properties. The trick with the acquisitions we did in the casino industry, Century Casinos and the Gold Reef Group, was to get the licenses. Because you've got these strong barriers to entry. If you don't have a license, you're not in the game, you can't get into the game. We've now got 3 big licenses in Gauteng, and each of those we're rolling out the Monty model of multiple forms of entertainment, your eventing, your restaurants, your cinemas, your bowling alleys, all those type of things that make it the destination of choice in those markets. And we found over time that has worked perfectly for us. The big catalyst that changed or enabled it while we pushed the button now was we needed the increased gaming capacity, because it's no good putting a whole lot of more footfall through the thing and you can't handle it in the casino. And that took a long time with sort of regulatory disputes with government and so on, but we've got that through, and we got 1,500 additional gaming positions in Gauteng, which is about a 30% capacity increase, and we spread that out across the 3 properties, and that will take sort of 2-3 years to roll out. And then we've got the capacity probably for the next 15-20 years as we build additional facilities to handle the footfall that will come through those properties.
Pete, before we talk about Africa, and we definitely want to talk about that, just a quick one on why you buying into the story, why you're investing your clients' money in this business.
So as investors, we are looking for high returns on capital. And you get that in certain circumstances. Some of those are, very importantly, we have localized monopolies where competition is limited, barriers to entry create high returns on capital. Tsogo Sun has that in the casinos that it owns, the gaming licenses it owns in its geographic areas. So that's one part. And another part is a business that people like to spend money on. Any business that people like to spend money on can generally be a good business with high returns. And entertainment is one of them. Gaming is entertainment. People like spending money on entertainment. So that is conducive to high returns on capital. So Tsogo has both those elements, localized monopolies in a business that consumers like to spend money on. So that's fantastic. And then it has a third element, which we like very much. It has the ability and the scope to spend lots of capital on developing this further and building out those economies, earning more high returns on that additional capital they're putting in, which we think compounds quite nicely. And that's a good deal for our clients.
Yeah.
But Pete, you've forgotten one thing there. You love the price, obviously. Or you,
yeah, well,
wherever you got in,
yeah.
you obviously enjoyed the valuation of the business.
You know, if you're looking for a trifecta investment, it's a good business with good management at a good price. And we think Tsogo Sun ticks all the boxes.
There we go. Africa. Tell us about Africa. $100 million invested, and Nigeria is a place where you just made an acquisition.
Yep. So the story for Africa and South Africa are very much the same. We have a very strong presence in the South African hotel market. We're about 25 to 30% of the formal stock. It's quite unusual that you get that kind of market share in one group in a country. And that comes through in our brands that are very strong. What we found in Africa, as opposed to other parts of the world, our brands have value, because Africa is full of South Africans building Africa. So the Southern Sun brand is a strong brand in Africa, and we trade very well. The markets are quite small, so it's not the type of market we're going to go roll out 50 hotels in 5 years and just sort of explode in the thing, but they're quite lucrative because they're difficult to operate in, and we've been in that market for 15 years now, and so we've got the base presence in them. The Nigerian opportunity and the Mozambique opportunity, which make up the $100 million, really came about from following a sort of slow and steady approach. In Nigeria, we first got involved with the people that built the hotel, and we ran it for them probably 10 years ago. And so it was a management contract. We ran it for them. We learned all the things in the market. They wanted to exit the building, and that was the opportunity for us. So we bought a hotel that we already operated. And in Nigeria, due diligence is difficult. It's not an easy market to operate in. The fact that we are really the top half of the income statement we controlled was great, because then we know what the hotel makes. And you've got to focus on, is it actually the land you're buying? Does the title deed work? Have you passed all the laws, etc.? Nigeria itself is a very lucrative hotel market. The rates are probably $100 to $150 higher than the rest of Africa, because it is so difficult to get hotels out of the ground.
Yeah, we've unfortunately run out of time, and we're just touching the surface, I think, when it comes to your plans in Africa. But thanks for joining us today and sharing some perspective on gaming, on how to influence people and how to not be influenced by people when it comes to markets. Pete Viljoen, founder and chairman of ReTM, myself and Orluk, CEO of Tsogo Sun. That's it for Investment 360 this evening. Thanks to my co-host Warren Dick. If you'd like to send us some feedback and suggest topics, you can contact Warren directly on @Warren_.